This book does some serious rebranding of midlife and will do the same for you. You may be stuck in the messy middle or managing to push your way forward with grace and gumption, but there's a bigger purpose here too. Transformation doesn't mean midlife women changing on their own. The world needs to see us differently, no matter how we see ourselves. Without a shift in how society sees us, we'll be facing an uphill battle forever. Why do I want to rebrand midlife? How did I get so passionate about changing it? Life rarely works out as we plan, does it? It can throw quite a few curveballs at us. Early menopause at 41 was one of mine. It became the catalyst for a whole new life, much better than the one before. Looking back over a decade later, I wouldn't change what happened. This book and everything that's brought me to writing it wouldn't exist without the experience. Let me tell you where my magnificent midlife journey began and why I think rebranding midlife is so important. I always wanted a big family, at least 4 children. I made the mistake of falling for a man who wasn't so keen. It took me 7 years of persuading to be allowed to try for a baby. I probably should have got that straight before we got hitched. When a baby came along instantly, it took us both by surprise. No fertility problems then. When my son arrived, I knew immediately I wanted more. Sadly, his father was having none of it. There were many reasons why my first marriage broke down. My desire for more children was definitely one of them. After we split, I tried to find a man to make babies with me. I was 35 and the clock was ticking. Turns out I wasn't very good at finding men I could bend to my will. I finally fell for a man who already had 3 children and hadn't planned any more. He'd also had a vasectomy. After much reflection, we finally agreed it'd be wonderful to have a child together, and this amazing man agreed to reverse his vasectomy. We knew it might not work, but he was willing to give it a go. I was 41 by this stage, so before subjecting my beloved to the knife, it seemed wise to have a hormone test just to check everything was working on my side. I had no reason to think it wouldn't be. That's why I was in the doctor's office awaiting my results when the doctor turned to me and said, "Your test results show you've gone through menopause." Say what? "Your FSH levels are those of a postmenopausal woman," he repeated in a slightly different way, as if that made the blindest bit of difference. "You would be unable to conceive a child." Bomb dropped. I can't really remember what happened next. I found I tend to block out the details of unhappy events, which is probably a good thing. I left with a prescription for hormone replacement therapy, HRT, the one made from pregnant mare's urine, Premarin, the standard recommendation in the UK at that time. I guess he probably asked if I'd stopped having periods. I hadn't even noticed. I'd recently left a stressful executive job to start working freelance and was full steam ahead finding clients. I hadn't been very happy in my job and was feeling liberated and excited. I was also nervous about choosing to be without a job for the first time in my life. Perhaps it wasn't surprising I hadn't noticed my monthly cycle. I'd never been particularly in tune with it anyway. With hindsight, I came to learn that was probably part of the problem. Just as when you go on holiday and suddenly get sick, stepping off the stressful corporate hamster wheel allowed my body to say, "I can't keep the show on the road anymore. Hello, early menopause." I remember feeling life had taken a nasty nosedive. Everything was a blur for quite some time. I didn't fill the HRT prescription. I sat on it for another 3 years. I came away knowing nothing about why this had happened to me, how to take care of myself, nor what it meant for me to be postmenopausal a whole flippin' decade early. Knowing what I know now, I think the information and care given to me was woeful. The grief came instantly, like a tidal wave. Grief for the child I was never going to have. I knew I was optimistic to expect to get pregnant at 41. I wasn't stupid. It had been the last roll of the dice, so to speak. Getting a diagnosis of early menopause was something else completely.